don't even have the charisma of the Godfather. So you're just you're putting in an African American job squad, basically. I don't see this working out. I think this is just a thing to say, well, we're the African Americans of the promotion and we're getting screwed over. We would demand some rights. It isn't going to work because of the one thing. Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, they have the skills. Okay, R-Truth, he's been in there for years. He's done, in my opinion. You know, looks like he looks like someone that's coked up. And speaking about someone that's coked up, who always slapping his hands together and creating that big cocaine cloud, Biggie's another one who has enough. He has the charisma of a sand crab. So I don't see how this is going to work. You don't have the spokesman. That's the problem. You don't have the spokesman. So I hope this thing fades away. And I think maybe this is just a way for WWE to slap TNA and say, look, we could do a same stable like you guys are doing with Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Kenny King, but we can do it a lot better. So I believe that's the real reason they're circulating this idea, just to slap it at TNA.
Well, the thing is, I don't think they would be doing it a lot better. I hate to say it. They would be saying, see, we can do it just like you, and we can do it just as shitty. You know, I think that's what they would really be saying. Andy, now, again, this has not even been confirmed. This is just what I read on one of the websites. Do you think this is a rumor, or do you think the WWE is really going to try this, considering all these four guys have been beaten by Rusev?
I think they're going to try anything because they're just trying to revamp all various different eras. They need to revamp, or not really revamp. They need to bring a new era that in 10 years' time we can say, oh, I like the blah 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 era, but they just aren't. They're just revamping old shit, and that's the problem. They're not bringing nothing fresh. They're not doing nothing new, and that's why we're suffering. Or not us, but that's why wrestling in general is suffering. They're bringing nothing new. They're revamping old ideas.
And that's a really valid point. We were talking about this over on Billy's show, WGS-TV, that they were thinking about bringing back the Attitude Era. And I don't think they should do that, because it's just going to be a watered-down, sugared-down version of it. And I think they need to create something new and a different, fresh, something totally different. And you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, thinking about how think about this. All those fans that keep shouting around, I want a new Attitude Era. All I can say to you is one thing. Look what they did to ECW.
Well,
Crucified it.
And not even that. The Attitude Era had the best talkers, the best gimmicks. They had the best workers. Okay, some of them sucked. But look who was the most entertaining out of the Attitude Era. DX, the original Nation of Domination, Stone Cold, Mick Foley, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane. You just don't have that magic that those guys had back in the Attitude Era. Look at the people around. I challenge any fan. Look at the people in the WWE today and see how if these guys can even hold a candle to any of the Attitude Era guys. Hell, there's not even someone who could be the next Roddy Piper or the next Hulkamania. Right now, they don't have anybody in that roster that could be the next big thing worldwide.
Well, I've had this discussion with you guys in the past, and I know Rick will verify this, that Rick's been on with liking Shield and Wade Barrett's gimmicks and the Wyatts and this, that, and the other. And all the fans are all jumping on the bandwagon. And I always kill people with this comment. And I'll put the comment out there and we can probably debate it at some other time. But imagine you've got $1 million in your arse pocket to promote one wrestler to be the next big thing. And I guarantee you wouldn't put your money on any of those names I've just mentioned, because you might enjoy what they do, but would you really put everything you own on the Wyatt family being the biggest thing in wrestling since wrestling began? I don't think so. And that's why the gimmicks are just... Some people are like... I know Rick likes some of the gimmicks that they're doing, but the vast majority of people are just going with the flow. They really are just going with the flow, just like 5 years ago, mobile phones were massive, and then suddenly they got really tiny, and then we start getting a massive mobile phone again. We're all like sheep. We're following what they want us to follow. If you sit and look at it from a logical point of view, as Joe's just said there, nobody's original anymore. Nobody. I wouldn't put any of my money on any of the new wrestlers up and coming to be the next Hulk Hogan, because I don't see any of them have got any potential. They're all jobbers.
Well, let's move on to one of our more popular segments, and of course, that is the controversies and scandals.
And this week it is Andy Kaufman versus Jerry Lawler. It's 1982. I believe it was, where they had their confrontation on the David Letterman show after Andy Kaufman got dropped on his head in a match when he was not supposed to get power driven by King, and then Lawler got coffee thrown on him by Kaufman, and then Lawler proceeded to punch Kaufman in the face. Now, later on, this was actually revealed to be a work. And you guys' thoughts?
Well, this was, I remember this years ago because I was a big fan. I loved Andy Kaufman because Andy Kaufman was from Taxi, and he was really just a comical guy. And I remember seeing, like, I'm like, that's Latka from Taxi. And this is really before I was really into WWE, and I don't think, or wrestling for that matter, and I don't think this is on World Wrestling. This is like
USWA.
Thank you very much. Anyway.
Actually, it was before USW. It was called Memphis Wrestling. And funny as they call it, it was actually the CWA.
Yeah.
Continental Wrestling Association.
But I remember watching the late night segment, and I remember seeing this guy who, of course, I know it's now Jerry the King Lawler, who's beating up, who's beating up Andy Kaufman, Latka. And I'm like, oh my God, he's just beating this guy up. And of course, Latka was like, thank you very much, and he's talking in his regular voice. And I'm like, what the hell? Who's this? It was very, very weird. Because I was a huge fan of them, it just threw me for a loop, and that's really, of course, when I really started getting into wrestling, and I still thought wrestling was fake because I think I was a kid. Anyway, light goes on. Anyway, but it was a great, great segment. It was that's all I remember. And then I actually saw the actual movie, the Man on the Moon, and of course that's when it showed how Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler were actually close friends.
No, I don't know anything about the story, to be honest, so it's all new to me.
Yeah, it's a great movie with Jim Carrey. If you have a chance, it's called The Man on the Moon. Great, great movie.
What is it about? Because I think Jerry Lawler mentioned something on one of his interviews that I saw where Jim Carrey wanted him to actually give him a powerbomb, and Jerry King Lawler didn't want to give him a powerbomb in case it interrupted the filming if he injured him, and caused a bit of controversy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Caused a bit of shit, apparently, but I don't really know anything about the movie.
The movie is pretty much about the life of Andy Kaufman. And, of course, it just a lot of it has to do with his wrestling, how he's decided to become a wrestler, and it just has. But that's some of the background. If we really watch it, it really is a good movie. If you have a chance to download it or torrent it or wherever, even rent it if you get a chance. But it is a phenomenal movie. I have it on DVD.
Yeah, I'll have a nose. For
that. What's funny is I actually remember this whole thing from beginning to end. And if you guys remember, for you fans that don't remember and some of the panel that don't know, Kaufman's manager was none other than Jimmy the Mouth of the South Hart.
That I did not know.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, it was, and it was Andy Kaufman was doing skits He was actually making fun of professional wrestling. He would say, "I will wrestle any woman."
Yep, absolutely.
And they paid him to come down to Memphis, and that started the whole thing with him and Jerry Lawler. And it was this big. It was a part of wrestling history, and that was the most funniest thing I remember. And again, stuff like that you won't see. You're not going to see Hugh Jackson coming in dressed as Wolverine, making fun of John Cena or any of these other guys. But it was back then. It was entertaining. It was a lot of fun. And yup, fans, get that movie. And if you can, I don't think it's on the network yet, but you can YouTube it or go in Daily Motion. Look for those matches with Andy Kaufman versus Jerry Lawler. They're actually really good.
Yeah. Here's another thing interesting, which I don't know if it was, did not know, but promoter Jerry Jarrett later would recall that after 2 years, he would mail paychecks to Kaufman with the payments comparable to what other main event wrestlers were getting that time, but Kaufman never cashed any of the checks. I don't know why. It was never understood why. Joe, would you understand why? Maybe did it ever come to record as to why?
Yeah, he didn't need the money. He was making enough money from his TV show Taxi, from Saturday Night Live appearances, and other little merchandise that he didn't really need the money.
He just did it because he had a true passion for wrestling.
Absolutely, and plus, let's remember the thing, why he did it too, to get more his character and name out. So besides being already popular for his Saturday Night Live skits and his Taxi, being on the TV show Taxi, which I remember.
Yep.
He just felt like he was taking money from. It was just like if we play baseball, football, and that's something we have fun about. Somebody's paying you to do that. He didn't need it. He was already financially secure, and he just wanted to do it for the fun, and he enjoyed it. He said that many times. He enjoyed it. But I got to say one thing. The slap that Jerry Lawler gave him on the Letterman show, wow, that was
the shit out of him.
Yeah,
you could tell in Kaufman's eyes he was in tears because it really hurt.
Wow. Well, let's move on to one of our last segments, and I believe the Bay Area has a special breaking news you'd like to talk to us about. Bay?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I just found some breaking news, and this comes from WrestleZone, folks, and what I found out was very, very interesting. It's backstage news on Ric Flair with the possibility of returning to WWE TV in more of a prominent role. I'll give you guys some brief details, and I'll go around the panel. So, they're wanting him to go from 230 to 225, so I guess Flair's a little bit too big at the moment. And there are also reports of him having him back on television and having him join Miz again to continue that storyline before the fiasco at WWE 2K14. And also the possibility of Ric Flair managing the Shield and everything like that. I think it's just a whole damn circus. So, Joe, I know we talked about this, so I'm going to go to you. Good or bad about Flair coming back to TV?
Oh, God. You know what made me laugh, folks? This is the thing I get. He did a very horrible job at, that convention that they did, the Comic-Con or Video Game Con, just a couple months ago, where him and JR were on stage. And
that was WWE Backstage Access.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And he really screwed up all day, and he kept rolling and rolling. Why? Okay, he's the Nature Boy Ric Flair. He is far from what he used to be. And I think the only reason they're bringing him back is he crawled on his hands and knees and say, Vince, woo! I need a job. Woo! And I could see Vince and Triple H turn around, look at each other, and say, well, Rick, you want to be part of the WWE again? You got to kiss my ass. But give me a couple of woos while you're doing it. Woo! Woo!
Woo! Woo! And then the problem is he's like, Rick, that's not my ass you're kissing.
Absolutely. And you know
You
what?
know.
There's really no need to bring him back. If he's hard on money, have him do something else.